how AI can lift the lives of people, without getting bogged down by the risks that we have. Now, the risks are very important, and we in India are very, very aware of them. You know why? Can I ask you a trick question? In India, we had 23 million babies last year. The next country which had lots of babies is China. How many babies did China have? So I'll give you options. 21 million, 16 million, 9 million.
9 million?
9 million. Nigeria was 8 million. In fact, if you take the next 5 countries after India, they are roughly about 23 million. So in India, we have to worry about children at a scale that no other country has to worry about. We have the largest number of people who are under 15-year-old in the world. So we have to worry about them, because AI, while it can lift them, it can keep them healthier, it can give them better education, it can help them fulfill their fullest potential, it can also destroy young lives because of AI pornography, AI gambling, AI gaming, and many other ills that are there. So I am not standing here to say that we can ignore AI safety. I don't say that at all. But I say that, look, there is an opportunity with AI that we also have to seize in the fullest way. Now, there is a particular thinking about AI that is emerging in some parts of the world. And you may be already familiar with this, but I'll go ahead and share it with you, and humor me. And I'll start with actually Professor Sandy Pentland. He's the father, is one of the fathers of the original internet. What was original internet? If you think of the original internet, it was to put public infrastructure to mediate the flow of packets through a protocol called TCP/IP. It was to mediate the flow of messages through a protocol called SMTP. Every email that we send today goes through SMTP, right? A system in the middle, which is not a company, it's a protocol, it is data blind, it doesn't capture any value, it does its job as a public utility. And then to allow for web content to move from one place to another through a protocol called HTTP. And that is what created this opportunity where a young girl in India, in a rural part of India, can learn a new language using the internet. So it's been a very powerful phenomenon. But in India, we realized that if we have to democratize transactions, digital transactions, we need to think out of the box. What is a digital transaction? Let's say I want to go to Geneva from here. I'll go to a website, I'll identify myself. I'll say I'm Sharad Sharma. Then I'll give some personal information. When do I wish to travel? And where, right? And then finally I'll pay for the ticket using a payment system. So every digital transaction involves identity, some payment, and information. Today, for all these three things, there are toll collectors that are there, which are private companies. And in fact, I won't even need to mention the names of those companies, because you know them. They are the richest companies in the world. Because in every digital transaction that you do, there's a toll collector for identity, there's a toll collector for sharing of information, there's a toll collector of payments. And in India 12 years ago, we said if we have to democratize transactions in India, this is not going to work. Because the cost of a digital transaction is going to be too high. So we put in place digital infrastructure which mediates the flow of people, money, and information. Today I'm standing here, and today 49% of the digital payments of the world will happen in India. And that system is only 6 years old. Right? So why is India exploded with digital transactions of every kind? Because we replaced private toll collectors with digital public infrastructure. Much the same way, imagine for a moment, if for a postal system we had a postal system which was a profit-seeking entity, it would be a very rich company by now. And if it had the right to read your postal mail, they would be even more powerful because they knew what you were going to do. We purposely created back in time a postal system which was data blind and a public utility. We did that for email, but we didn't do that for the flow of people, money and information. That system is now generally called, in India it's called the India Stack, it's generally called the digital public infrastructure revolution that has happened. Now what is that to do with AI? AI, you can say for sure that AI is also a list of things, right? You have applications, applications will rely on models, models will rely on data. Today all the models have been built on the back of so-called public data. I say so-called because the model companies didn't respect copyright for that, as you know, right? And so there is some debate about whether it is public data or not. But we know that the next generation of models will have to rely on data that is never going to be public. In France, for example, you have 35 years and more of longitudinal health data. Why is that not available to French startups? It's not available to French startups because it's got privacy inside that data. You can't afford to compromise the privacy of your citizens. So therefore that data has not been given to AI. But if you really want to lift health in a big way, then you need to be able to build models using that data. You have data inside companies, which is very valuable because it teaches you how to deal with, how to solve many problems inside companies. But that data has confidentiality and secrecy associated with that. That's never going to become public data. But that data has to be used by models as well. And then you have some other data which may be national data where sovereign rights are very important. So in the next generation of the AI revolution, you have to unlock these data sets without compromising privacy, without compromising secrecy, and without compromising sovereignty. Now there are private companies who will happily do it for you, but they will become the toll collectors between the data providers and the people who will use that data. They're called data consumers, the modelers, and they'll become very powerful toll collectors. Do you want that? No. So you, instead of having private toll collectors sitting between this flow of training data, the new generation of training data, you want to actually put a public infrastructure that is a public utility that is not optimizing for profits and is data blind itself. Today, if you happen to hear the speech of our Prime Minister, he talked about exactly this public infrastructure called DEPA, Data Empowerment and Protection Architecture. It's already working in India. France is doing a pilot. Japan is doing a pilot. Why? Because we need something like this. Because if we don't have this generation of public infrastructure, we will give too much power away to private toll collectors who will then compromise many things. In fact, the President Macron often says it will compromise democracy itself, right? So this is the need of the hour today. The need of the hour today is to rethink where do we need private innovation and where do we need public infrastructure. And I'm here to tell you that the data infrastructure of tomorrow needs to be mediated. It has to be public infrastructure, so that the value resides at the edges, either with the person who holds the data or the person who makes meaning of that data.